Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, you're also watching on Facebook Live on facebook.com/live-now-dt and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you're tuning into the show, we welcome you in and thank you so much. Like I said, the Cafe Kubal studios here for you, and Cafe Kubal with 5 locations in our community on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, and 401 South Salina Street, where we were yesterday with CNS football and the student athletes there supporting local and supporting the community and the kids. And, of course, they have their location on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius for Cafe Kubal. So go out and get your cup of coffee today. Our weather has been schizophrenic, but the one thing I do know is that whether it's hot or iced, it's good at Cafe Kubal. So make sure you go out and get it today. It's a little bit warm today. It's supposed to snow tomorrow. So I don't understand it, but this is why my allergies are freaking out, and this is why I kind of want to hunker down and stay in the house. So with that being said, we welcome you into the broadcast. We have an awesome jam-packed show. Hour number 1, Bryan Kersey of the ACC, the coordinator of men's basketball officiating inside the Atlantic Coast Conference, joins us to talk all things college basketball here in just a minute. And in hour number 2, we'll start a new video. So for those of you on this video, you will migrate from Facebook and YouTube into a new video dedicated to fantasy football and our conversation that never sleeps all throughout the year, every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. This week we will be discussing a 17-game regular season, as well as Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, expecting fans to be in the stands in capacity, full capacity, for the NFL season. So a lot of stuff coming up here to discuss, and we will get to all that in hour number 2, but we head to the hard court in hour number 1 with Bryan Kersey. Bryan, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. How about you?
I'm doing very well. And Bryan, we talked about it off the air, and I would be remiss to not start with the fact that that Bert Smith last night gave us all a scare. An official that collapsed and fell onto the court. And he's one of your guys. I know that you have a relationship with him. So just tell me what do you know?
The last time I talked to him was about 1:15 this morning. He's got had medical staff, from the NCAA with him. He's alert. He's talking. We probably talked 4 or 5 times last night. He's a guy that's worked our championship game, just worked our semifinals this year, and is an unbelievable person. Number one, and scared everybody. You hate to see that, but I think he's going to be okay. He's got a knot on the back of his head. But like I said, we've talked. We'll talk again today. The medical people are checking on him again today. And pray that everything is good this morning as it was when I talked to him last night. It scared him a lot, scared his family a lot. The fortunate thing is he lives about an hour and a half from Indianapolis. So he does not have to get on a plane or anything to get home. So if anything helps, that helps a lot.
Yeah, the fact, and obviously that is one of the silver lining pieces here, is the fact that he gets to be close to home, and obviously his loved ones close to him. When he was alert, what was he talking about? Did it seem like it was normal? I mean, was he just kind of totally out of it? What was it like?
He was out before he hit the floor, of course, and so he just got lightheaded. I don't know if you saw the clip of the possession before, but he had stumbled up the sidelines, and we all noticed that. And then when they came back down the floor, of course, he just went down before they got to midcourt. He doesn't know what happened. The doctors were running some tests on him while he was sitting in the arena. Of course, they were getting the blood work back late last night and just waiting for all of that, the scans that they did. That's one of the beauties of having the NCAA tournament in an arena like that. Pro sports have access to so much stuff, and the medical staff there could not have been any better for him, I don't think.
Yeah, and like you said, when you go back and you watch the film, you watch the tape, and and Bert had stumbled beforehand. I mean, did he tell you anything that he was feeling bad going into the game? He was feeling off going into the game, dehydrated, didn't sleep the night before. I mean, was there any notion in his mind that he came into that game and wasn't okay?
No, not at all. In fact, I talked to him probably an hour before he left to go to the arena. As I talked to all our guys that are out there every day, and he was great. I mean, he was up spirits. He was feeling great. Bert's very soft-spoken anyway, so he doesn't really get excited over a lot of stuff. He wanted to work that game. He was excited to work that game and have the opportunity to move on to the Final Four. I texted him probably an hour and a half before the game. While he was in the locker room, he was great. It's just one of those things that happens, I guess. Everybody that's been in athletics gets that feeling, before the game starts. I guess it just got him because it happened so quick into the game. But, even 2 or 3 possessions before that, he was running fine. And then it just hit him, and he said he doesn't know what happened. He's waiting on all the medical results. And, hopefully they find something that's, non-life or career-threatening for him. And he gets out of this and goes home and rests for a little while and comes back.
In speaking here of Bryan Kersey, the ACC coordinator of men's basketball officiating, and we're talking this morning on the very scary moments that happened with Bert Smith, an official, during this run in the Elite Eight here. And, for you, for Bert to be a friend, Brian, and you said, the first thing you said to me was, that's one of my guys. For him to be a friend, for you to be connected to him professionally and personally, I can only imagine that for you, it goes well beyond. It's not just one of those social media, what happened to that official? For you, it's, what's going on with my friend? And talking to him an hour before the game, like you said, that should, in my opinion, as we talked about off the air, if people haven't figured out how precious life is now, they need to jump in a DeLorean and go back in time and spend some time with Doc, during this Corona time, because that's your friends, that is your peer, and I can only imagine if he felt scared that you did as well.
Oh, absolutely. It scared the crap out of me. When he went down, I worked my last college game, my last game before I became supervisor with him in the NCAA tournament. So I had refereed with him and worked many NCAA tournaments with him. So I've known him. I know his family. I know, his wife Jackie. I'm sure she was beside herself as well. But when something like that happens, and it's somebody that you're really, really close with, which Bert and I are extremely, extremely close and were prior to me getting this job. It took me out of my chair. The world stopped for a little while. Game really didn't matter. At that point, I just wanted to make sure he was all right. He had that look when they took him off on the stretcher, like he was upset, which is understandable. You hate to see anybody, even any referee or any player, get taken off in a stretcher. But when it's somebody that you're close with, it hits home, and people do need to realize that it can happen. Your life can change in the blink of an eye. And I think one thing that the pandemic has taught us is not to take things for granted, and definitely not to take friends and family for granted, and people in general. And our staff is extremely close. We all talk all the time, and I like that in our staff and that closeness, and I like what,
Kevin, they can really score in traffic, in transition. That was not an easy shot. USC wants to attack, but you've got to be careful. Kevin, something happened to one of the referees.
Done the same thing.
He collapsed. He collapsed.
Somebody they help, or somebody they're close to, something like this happens.
And they have
you just got to sit back and stop.
Both programs.
Wow.
Facilities here. Pressure is being taken on the floor.
Didn't matter.
Smith is in his
Gonzaga bench.
In Indianapolis.
To him. You saw the medical people
EMTs were assisting. Gene Steratore, as a rules.
Pandemic has taught people is.
Gene, obviously, this is an upsetting time.
The words "help others" has come full circle, and I think that's been great.
Speaking here with Bryan Kersey, the ACC coordinator of men's basketball officiating here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and very close to Bert Smith, the official that we saw go down during the Gonzaga USC game. Bryan, for that moment, how special that moment is, did you have any words of encouragement or any thoughts to him? I mean, he's one of the very few number of officials that's advanced in the bracket, so to speak, with the opportunity of being able to referee in the final, well, going toward the Final Four, in this Elite Eight. I mean, this Elite is a perfect name for it. I mean, Bert making it to the Elite Eight round to see the teams to make it to the Final Four. I mean, you're one of the few officials that has been trusted with this high-octane moment for college basketball. What did you give him any thoughts or words of encouragement on the fact that, I mean, obviously, I'm sure that a part of him feels like something was taken away from him that he couldn't control. And, so many people fight to get to this moment, and he got to it based on his merit and his capability and what he can do. Did you say anything about that to him, about the fact of, I know that this is probably professionally weighing on you a little bit. Did you talk to him about that?
Yeah, I did, and I told him, everything's going to be fine. He's got good people with him. I actually told him, I talked to him at the half of the game, and I told him, get up, let's have another Willis Reed moment, and walk through the tunnel and go back to work. But, I told him, he's fortunate to be where he was. He had great medical people with him. Let him know the support that he had, from the referee community as well as our coaches, that reached out to me to check on him, and that a lot of people were praying for him, and a lot of people were looking forward to him coming back and to not take anything away from the season that he had and just get better and stay in contact, and we'll continue to talk, and he's going to have a lot of people helping him through it. The group text from people on our staff went out. He's on all of those group texts, and a lot of people were, pumping him up, fist pumping him, through text. So he knows the support that he has. He's got a very, very strong family support. I think it would have been incredible to see him walk back out there, but there was no way that was going to happen. That was just to make him laugh a little bit, and just trying to encourage him, let him know we're here for him, and look forward to seeing him and getting him back out there on the floor.
What does it mean for you to have Bert Smith on your staff?
It's somebody that, number one, is respected across the country. Number two, he's a tremendous leader of less experienced officials. And as always, he's a great teacher. He's an incredible camp counselor at all of the camps that we attend in the summertime. So he's just one that our staff looks up to. Our staff knows, his standing on our, he's one of the first guys I brought over, to work on our staff because of the experiences I had refereeing with him, and he's taken the leadership role and done very, very well with it. But he also is a great learner. He's a great listener. He's somebody that can communicate with our coaches and his partners during the game. So it means the world to me to have. Plus, he's an unbelievable person, which people, don't know the people that are referees.
Yeah.
They know him as referees. And I love having him on the staff, and I look forward to hopefully long-term relationship on our staff with him.
You said the last game you officiated was in the NCAA tournament, and it was with Bert. So how cool is it for you to have had that moment, that the last time you were on the floor as an official, it was with Bert Smith, and now you and Bert are on the same staff? How amazing is that in two different chapters of your officiating life, Bert's been there?
It can't be replaced. Never, you can never take any of those times back. Like I said, we spent not only that regional weekend, but we also spent numerous NCAA tournaments together, off days, hanging out and stuff like that. So, it's just a very special relationship that I have with him. and we're going to continue the friendship forever. He also understands that I'm now the boss, so there's times where we have to have those conversations after games and on plays and stuff. But he listens, he understands, and he would run through a wall for me as I would for him in the situation that he's in now. I would help him any way that I could, and I think that speaks everything of what his and mine relationship are all about.
Yeah, coming from Bryan Kersey here, ACC coordinator of men's basketball, officiating. Bryan, for you to look at the game itself, is anybody anywhere near Gonzaga in this Final Four?
Oof. They have stretches in games where they're just total domination. Their defense is amazing. The way they get in front of people driving to the basket and the way they contest at the rim is amazing. The thing about Gonzaga that it looks like is they all get along. And I think that speaks well of Coach Few. I think he's got a group of guys that love to play with each other, and I don't know. I mean, who thought UCLA would be where they're at?
Right.
That's the thing. No, I don't think anybody gave UCLA a chance yesterday, except Mick Cronin and his guys, and they've done. Gonzaga's going to be a hard out the way that they're playing right now.
And it's something that I really liked hearing, and you being a basketball fan, you and I are fans first, because if we weren't fans of the game, how could you be officiating and how could I broadcast it? So, being fans of the game in and of itself, I love something. I mean, I'm already a big fan of Mark Few, and he is one of the few, pun totally intended, coaches that are on my kind of that hot list of coaches that I want to have a conversation with. And, obviously Coach K and Jim Boeheim, Roy Williams, Tom Izzo, Rick Pitino, a lot of those guys I've had the opportunity to speak with already. But Mark Few's on that list because I've respected him for over a decade. My mom loves watching Gonzaga and always is rooting for them. So I told her the rest of the country agrees with her this year for once. But Mark Few at the end of the game when he was getting interviewed, what I thought was fantastic is he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I'm not ignorant to the moment. Like, we will celebrate this tonight. We're going to have a great night of celebration. And you hear coaches so much say, "Well, you got another game to play, And he's like, "No, we're gonna have fun. We're happy to be here." Well, I mean, what do you think about that? The fact that Mark Few's saying, "Hey, you know what? This is a big moment for our program. It's our second trip to the Final Four. I'm going to let the boys celebrate this a little bit before we go into the next game."
I think that speaks to them getting along, and he lets his guys be who they are. And he's recruited guys to play his system, of course, but he also, you can see in the way that they play that they anticipate where the other person's going to be. They can start a play and improvise to score. It's just amazing. And I've refereed games for when I was on the floor with Gonzaga, and Mark Few is a class act. He does everything for his players. He takes up for his players, and it's great to see him allow them to enjoy the moment that they're in now, and then tomorrow or the next day they start preparing for their next task.
Yeah, and I mean, for you, Bryan, I mean, as an official and now a coordinator of officiating, we've talked about this before, how it's the life of a big man. We don't see it as much anymore, but on Gonzaga, we see it every year. We see it with every team. We see it in every transition under Mark Few. And, with this team, there's multiple guys. But, I mean, the way that they can attack the rim, get after, sometimes they come at that rim like a point guard. When I talk about their flexibility and the finesse and the things that you don't always anticipate or expect out of a big man, what can you say about the fact that Gonzaga has a big man still, has multiple, but they utilize that? It's like having a fullback in the NFL. You don't see it a lot anymore, but dang it, the teams that have it do really well with it. the Patriots have won numerous championships with a fullback on the staff, couple of them. So, what can you say about the fact that the big man has never gone out of Gonzaga? And, to the people in the state of Washington, they don't know basketball without it.
100%. And, they're long. Their big men are big. They look like they're grown men. And they protect that rim, and they play with legal physicality. And if somebody goes to the rim, they know they're going to get contested, and I think that helps them. And their quarterback, this Suggs kid is phenomenal. He's got a toughness that inspires his other players to play tough. So, it's amazing to watch that team. It's a total team aspect because they've got each other's backs. Going to the basket, they had a couple blocked shots last night that you didn't even see coming, and they got up so quick, and they block them so that they can recover the ball. And a lot of teams, they swat it to go out of bounds, and it looks great and everything, but, this team blocks shots to start their offense. And it's amazing to watch them go. And, they went on that stretch to start that game yesterday, and, I forget what the score was, but they were up quick. And, when you have to come from such a large deficit, in a game like that, it is tough to do. And, they're very, very talented and very, very team-oriented, which is great to watch.
Yeah, it's incredible to see them. And then on the other side of the matchup, UCLA, people have to remember they played a play-in game in overtime, 86-80 over Michigan State as an 11 seed. So they did what every other team did in the Final Four and more because they had to win an extra game. What can you say about UCLA, a team that is storied, historically being a part of the Final Four is, it's a normalcy. There's a run in the early 2000s where they did it. Obviously, there was a run, multiple runs before that. This is their 19th trip to the Final Four, but it's their first one in 13 years since 2008. So what are your thoughts on the UCLA Bruins and the fact that this team, once again, in history, has made it to the Final Four, but this time around made it in such a unique way, having to play a play-in game against Tom Izzo and Michigan State just for the right to get into the tournament's round of 64, and now here they are in the Final Four.
Yeah, Nick's done a phenomenal job with them. They go into a game thinking they're going to win, and they make shots. Those kids that they have just make shots. Their point guard is crazy good. He penetrates, gets the ball to the right person, but then he can pull up and score. He can go right by him. And Juzang is an unbelievable talent that not many people. I think people thought he was really, really good coming in, but now his talent has just skyrocketed. And like I said, if you think you're going to win going into a game, which I know Mick's background of thinking he's going to win a basketball game. I'll say it all the time. Great coaches score after timeouts. Yeah. And UCLA scores after timeouts. He sets up a play, they run the play, and they score. And I think that says a lot. They missed the three, late. I think it was last night. They missed a three late after a timeout, but it was an open shot. And it's crazy to see how many times Mick Cronin can draw something up, and they, his dad, has taught him well. He relies on his dad a whole lot. You love to see that. And his kids are playing at top level right now.
Yeah, and in all of this that they have, been able to do, UCLA advancing to play Gonzaga on one side and their incredible story, and on the other side, we have another number one seed that's, last season, Gonzaga and Baylor were at the top in the rankings. They were going to come into the NCAA tournament for men's Division I and potentially be number one seeds and make a push. And here they are again, almost like, history writing itself. And here's Baylor, the Bears. Villanova was in their brackets, and they had to go up against them. North Carolina, the thought that they could make a push, or Wisconsin could make a push. They had to see, and Oral Roberts put themselves in a position to almost get to that final game, losing by 72-70 to Arkansas, the 3 seed. What do you think about Baylor's road to get to the Final Four?
Well, I mean, they've taken who they go up against and played unbelievable. They play their style, which is a fast-paced style that also has physical guys inside, and that's a great combination to have. They can shoot the ball, but they're going to bring it right at you, and I think that says a lot for what Coach Drew is doing with them. I mean, they are another team, and he's another coach that is phenomenal out of timeouts, but they have a game plan that we're going to run it right up your throat, and they continue to do it. They don't sway from it. And he's got a heck of a chance as well. I mean, that they're playing, them and Gonzaga are playing, incredible, as is Houston and UCLA. It's just physicality is going to be, a key as we go forward in the tournament, how they go to the rim and how they protect the rim. And I think that's what we're going to – I think the teams that do that the best are going to be the ones to play in the national championship game.
And you mentioned the other one, Houston, the number 2 seed coming out of the Midwest. And, I'm going to tell you, I cover the American Athletic Conference very closely. I had the opportunity to speak with Dejan Giroux and to Houston going through the AAC tournament. This team came in to the NCAA tournament as the number 1 team in rebounding in all of college basketball for Division I of over 300 schools. North Carolina was 2. Houston was 1. I believe Kelvin Sampson said it. And they had over 41 rebounds a game, 41.1 rebounds a game on average when they went into the game against Syracuse. And just as I always do, because I think it's a cardinal sin to be partial in the broadcasting world, yes, Syracuse is my hometown, but I thought Houston was the better team. I have them going all the way to the championship. What are your thoughts on the Houston Cougars and the fact that they don't really have to be a great shooting team? They're just really, really good at keeping the ball on their end.
Exactly right. And, they've got a great leader in Kelvin Sampson. They do what they do when they have the basketball, and then they dare you to score. They're going to try to outscore you, and they do a very good job. They spread the floor incredibly. And then again, they've also got a lot of plays that go to the rim, but they also have plays where they if you watch the way they spread the floor, they've got somebody open every time somebody goes to the basket, and that says a lot for the offense that they run. And then they're right up on you on the defensive end, so they honestly, I think they honestly believe we're going to outscore you. If we've got the ball at the end, you're going to be in trouble. And I think that's the mentality that they play with. And they don't get discouraged if they get down. They don't get discouraged if they're, down a couple points late in the game. They know that they're going to score, and they're going to do everything they can to stop you on the defensive end.
So I got to ask you, Bryan, if you were to have filled out a bracket and you were to look at it right now, if that was something that you were able to do and you looked at it, would you have had any of these 4 teams at the end?
I think Baylor and Gonzaga would have been there.
Okay. Just
because of the way that they came in. I don't think the others 2, I don't think I would have had. But I don't think I would have had anybody that they even played in the last 4 days as the other 2 teams because of, what I would have thought going into it, or the upsets that I thought would happen, early in the game. So, early in the tournament, So, but I think everybody out there was thinking Baylor and Gonzaga based on, what media tells us, based on everything I've seen going in to the tournament and the games that I've watched. But I think Gonzaga was everybody's pick going in. It's hard to not go against an undefeated team. There hasn't been many. I think Kentucky was the last one to get to this point. I know that St. Joe's, back when they had Jameer Nelson, went into the tournament. I think they got to the Elite Eight, maybe, when they got beat. But I think you have to go with the people that are hot coming into the tournament. And, then guys that you don't expect are always going to end up there. This tournament is great. It starts off with, 68 teams, and it's win or go home. And I think that's what makes this tournament so special.
Yeah, and to see this, and I can tell you, Bryan, I got the bracket online to prove it, and I got the bracket on paper to prove it. And, I went with Gonzaga and Houston in the Final Four. And the irony of my Final Four is that of the Final Four that I had, the two that got knocked out are not the two I had in the championship. So I still have a clear shot at my championship and my champion this year.
Wow, that's amazing. There's probably not many people that can say that out there right now.
Yeah, so all those people that think they could be a broadcaster, you know how I feel about it.
Exactly right. But, I understand completely.
Just like everybody's an official, Bryan. So.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of referees out there right now. There's a whole lot of them out there.
It's
easy to do it. I tell you what, I'm a whole lot better referee watching it on TV when I can get to see the replays.
and that's the thing too is I got to tell you, I mean, you're the coordinator of men's basketball officiating for the ACC. Did you know that your payroll might have let's say 30 people on it, but it looks like there's 3,000. Did you know that these people are on the payroll?
No, I didn't. I wish they would come on and walk out there one time and see what it's like. It's a lot different than sitting in a couch getting, something to drink during the media timeout.
That's very true. Bryan Kersey, the ACC coordinator of men's basketball officiating. To go to officiating for a second in and of itself, how do you feel it has been done? Like you said, like Bert Smith, you got guys that are in this tournament that's obviously very well and have relationships with and are representing, the ACC, representing what you are supposed to be, representing the ideals that you've put forward. So what has it looked like for you as a coordinator of officiating? What has this tournament looked like for you as far as expectation?
Well, I think they've done a really good job, honestly. There's been a couple blips. There's been a couple times when I sit here and I've had some of my guys, we had, over 30 of our guys were out there of the 58 that ended up working, so it's been fun to be able to watch every game and have one of our guys on the game. But, they've done a good job. You haven't seen any, craziness on the sidelines. You haven't seen any players get out of control. So, like I said, there's been some blips, but for the most part, the guy that came in last night, Tony Henderson, that took Bert's spot when he went out. He was a standby at the time. He's one of ours. He worked our tournament the last 3 years, I think. So, I mean, it's good to – Lee Cassell worked the second game yesterday, last night, which was a great game as well. So we've had, we've been well represented. Doug Shows, who was with Bert during that game, he's one of, he works a lot of games for us. So it's good to sit back and watch our guys work. It's good to see a lot of the guys that I refereed with work in the tournament. It's good to see some of the less experienced guys get opportunities, in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. So I've enjoyed it. I had some responsibilities for the first four through the second round with evaluating the games. I actually had to evaluate 9 of the games, to help with the move-on process throughout the tournament, along with the NCAA. So it's been, evaluating those 9 games is a crazy thing to have to do. But, I think for the most part, the officiating in this tournament has been really good. And J.D. Collins has done a good job of putting the right people out there to work the games. There's a lot of fans that that whose teams lost that would probably disagree. But for the most part, I would say that their call accuracy has been extremely well.
Yeah, and for you, Ryan, when you said through the first four and then beyond that a little bit that you had to analyze these games and really break them down, what did you see when you were in this process of trying to decide, who you would say moves on in the tournament as an official? What did you see in the games that you had to review?
Well, I think confidence and poise in these games is extremely important because, if you lose control of yourself as an official or you start jumping around a lot and showing nerves or anything like that, I think that affects how you work the game. So, we chart every whistle that goes on in the games, and they either get a correct call, incorrect call, or plays where they have no whistles at all. We give them no call incorrects. So there were probably more no call incorrects than incorrect calls going through the 9 games that I worked. You have to see how they handle benches. If in case something comes up, you have to see their communication levels with the players and how they talk to them and how they handle. I watch a lot of how they handle off-ball situations, how rough they let the post get. And, if you watch this tournament, that has not been a whole lot of post activity that caused any problems because officials have taken care of it early in the game. So I think that helps the game to get going a whole lot easier. You haven't seen a lot of people get put into foul situations where there's problems, that creates controversy with sidelines and players getting disgruntled. So I think that bodes a lot to how these guys are refereeing the games.
Yeah, and you talk about it. You talk about poise and, not losing themselves. I mean, there's so many instances, whether you're a commentator or you are. I mean, when you're in the world of live, a live room of, you got coaches, you got players. I mean, normally you have a full room of fans. What can you say about that? Because officiating is kind of like doing stand-up comedy. Like, you have to be okay with being heckled. You can't show that it bothers you. You got to keep a stone face, and you really got to let everything roll off your shoulder. I mean, the thickest of skin, I would imagine, has to lie on the backs of the officials.
Oh, absolutely, because they can hear everything right now, especially in Lucas Oil, where it's so big, you can hear every echo that goes through the place. They have to have, I watched a lot of games this year in empty arenas, and even on TV, you can hear, the people that are in there. You can hear coaches yell, you can hear players react, and these guys have to keep that. I tell our guys, show no emotion. Show as little emotion or no emotion throughout the entire game, because once you start showing emotion, somebody's gotten under your skin. And it's hard to do because some things are said that question a lot of your heritage going through. But these guys adapted to it. They got used to it throughout the season, and now they're at the point where that they know they're going to hear stuff. They can't react to it. It's going to be interesting to see the transition, as we go forward, especially next year when fans do start coming back to the arenas, how they react to it then, because this is something that they've never had to do, probably since they worked Division II and Division III games with, some of their arenas being empty. But they've handled it well. Referees have had a lot of, adversity throughout the season, with testing and everything else. They've handled it as pros. They want to all stay in the bubble out there now, so they have worked their butt off to get to the point where they are. Some people have gone home. I guess they'll let them know today or tomorrow who is staying for the Final Four, and just sit back and enjoy it, because it's a great ride to be on. As a referee, you don't want your last game of the season to ever come. It's coming, but you don't want it to. So they've worked hard to get here. You referee in these tournaments with people you've never refereed with before in your life, and you know them, you respect who you're working with, you respect where they're at. You respect their, their history of getting to where they are. So it's a strange situation that they're in now, but they've handled the empty arenas extremely well.
Yeah, and it is such a unique world for an official to have to navigate through this. What can you say about that? Being in these arenas so differently now. I mean, we talked about how surreal it was for you when the ACC tournament shut down and everything, and little by little fans were kind of escorted out and said, "Hey, you can't come back to this game," and and whatnot. But a year of seeing this, and now an entire season of going through it. What do you think about it? And as an official, do you think it's more positive to have a quiet room where you can hear everything the coach says, or to have a room that has some fans in it, or is it better to have that noise where it's sometimes it's in unison, but a lot of times it's inaudible? What is your take?
Well, I think what it's done is it's helped all of the officiating staffs out there to have less experienced guys step up. I miss I miss full arenas. I miss fan interaction. I miss fan reaction to baskets. But I think it has allowed us to expand the people that we work in games, because they're not going in to look up in the stands and see 20,000 people there. And I think it's given me as a supervisor eye-opening experience with guys that normally you may not use, that have now come in and are a huge part of our staff. In the ACC tournament, we had 3 first-year officials work the ACC tournament. And I think without the pandemic and without fans, I don't know if those guys would have gotten the opportunity during the regular season to be able to qualify to work the tournament. So it's helped me tremendously, to increase the guys that I use in games and to give them the opportunity, and then they have to take the opportunity and run with it.
Yeah, so there is silver lining, and I know, Bryan, that we talk about being on the positive side of things and finding that silver lining amidst all of this. Before I let you go, I know you said there's a few blips. What play or plays, can you go back to something that's happened in this NCAA tournament that really just stuck out to you? Is there a reoccurring issue, or is there hey, in this game this happened, or in that game that happened? What have been the blips?
It's just a lot of the blips that we've had have been on transition plays, because there's been a lot of steals and turnovers that have occurred just across the mid-court line, where an official may be just getting set, in the front court, and then all of a sudden it goes the other way quick. And then we've had a lot of bang-bang plays at the basket. And I think some of them that we've called have caused us problems, and some of them that we had not called has caused us problems. And those are the major blips that I've seen. There's a couple block charges earlier this week that were tough plays because they were transition plays. And, that makes it difficult because, number one, you're either taking a basket away or from an offensive team, or you're rewarding offense-initiated contact, and we're calling a foul, so we're adding points to the team on the offensive end. So I think those are the main, and like I said, we haven't had many, but we have had some of those, and I think those are the plays that we have to get better on. Those are the plays that I will teach on in the summertime, and we'll get better at those.
And always something to look forward to, always something to get better at as you look here as an official. Bryan, for you, it seems like it's been forever since you and I sat at the Marriott downtown Syracuse. To me, it's Marriott this morning, apparently. But it's been a long time since we sat in the VIP lounge. When is the next time that you think we're due to have a drink and sit and chat off the air? When's a good time for that?
Well, I'm hoping that we get back to some type of normalcy when we start next season. I'm hoping I get to all of our campuses and, multiple times and meet with coaches, meet with players, watch games live. I think we're getting to that point. I miss that. I miss seeing, my guys on the road. I miss sitting down talking to you and having that opportunity. So I'm looking forward to, and as you know, I'm a very positive thinker. So I'm thinking next year that we'll get that opportunity again.
Yeah, coming from Bryan Kersey, Atlantic Coast Conference coordinator of men's basketball, officiating, giving us a lot of great things today, including and most importantly, his relationship with official Bert Smith, who went down during the Gonzaga USC game that we are finding out that's not only has Bryan spoken with him multiple times, but that hopefully he is on the mend and nothing serious is happening. So we send our prayers up and hopefully blessings down to Bert Smith. Bryan, final thing here. Absolutely. Final thing here is, as an official, you get questioned a lot, but you don't get to ask any questions. So I'm going to put myself on the hot seat in rapid fire. You can ask me, and can be basketball or non-basketball related, sports or non-sports, could be anything. You can ask me 3 questions, but I would love to give you, Mr. Kersey, the opportunity to question somebody else, since officials always get questioned.
Well, the question I would have for you is there a game that has happened in this tournament that you felt the officiating changed the outcome?
That is a fantastic question. I would tell you that I can't really point my finger on a game that I felt like was decided by the officials. There were times where I looked at my dad and I said, I don't agree with that, or what was he seeing there, or why did they call it? I get really big on calling when something's called on one side and not the other. I get very you got to keep it fluid. Or what's happened is that I'll watch a game and then I'll watch another game, totally separate game, and I'll see the same call called differently or not called at all. And so I think, I've been struggling with is that a charge or is that a blocking foul? Because by the rules, some things don't look like they've happened correctly. But can I sit here and tell you that I thought a game was 100% decided by the officials? No. And I'm very happy that you asked me that question because you made me think about it. And I was like, I don't have a clear... Like, if I had a definite, I would have said it. But I don't. So, shout out to the officials that I really don't think they were the third team on the floor this year.
Great. Now, which coach that you've seen in the last 4 days, let's say Sweet 16 and Elite 8, do you see as a good timeout coach? Meaning they call timeout, end of game. Let's say end of game coach.
Okay.
That a close game that can call a timeout and come out and score.
I would say, that's a good question. I think, what UCLA was able to do, and I didn't get to all of their game yesterday, and I want to go back, but I think Mark Few, I know his team has been winning games by bigger margins, but I think he's great at coming out of a timeout and striking. But I would also have to say Houston. I think what Kelvin Sampson's been able to do with this Houston. I mean, this is the resurgence, remember, of Kelvin Sampson, because Kelvin Sampson at one point was a coach that had gotten in trouble. He had a show cause penalty against him. If anybody hired him, they automatically were going to have a close eye from the NCAA. I mean, this guy went through a lot, and so and obviously some of it put himself through, but to get to where he is today, and the way that they played against Rutgers, I mean, for goodness sakes, the end of the game, again, it wasn't making shots. It was tipping it in. It was getting an offensive rebound. I mean, they're down, they get an offensive rebound, they get fouled, they make their free throws. They're still down, they get an offensive rebound, they tip it in, they win the game. So I would say that Kelvin Sampson's really good because Houston never gives up. I would say Mark Few, even though the score may not signify that the games are necessarily close. I would also, out of a timeout, I would have to say, Oral Roberts, I would have to say, they've had a good push, and I'm forgetting somebody. I know that I am. And
look at the shots Juwan Howard got out of timeouts yesterday. I mean, he got open looks, which I thought was. I think he's, I don't know him at all, but just seeing his demeanor on the sidelines and the way he has his kids playing and the shots that they get are incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these. I think what I'm seeing is, if you just watch your team, you're killing yourself. I mean, you're kind of like you're dumbing down your basketball IQ.
Absolutely.
Because if you watch these other teams around the country, I mean, it's incredible to sit and watch a game. Like, I've looked at my dad before, because there's certain teams that don't run offensive plays. There are certain teams that don't box out. There's certain teams that, come out of a timeout and have no idea what the heck's going on. And I'll look at my dad, and I told my dad we should have had a camera behind us recording us watching the game so you could see the game in real time and see us. Because I look at my dad and I go, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, that's an offensive play, Daniel." And I go, "Pop, what's that?" He goes, "Well, that's a guy boxing out." And I go, "Well, that's interesting." It's because, there's some of these teams that you watch and it's like, well, why does Oral Roberts win? And it's like, watch their game. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much to be said. Gonzaga could teach the entire nation how to play basketball. And so, it's not rocket science. Houston, and I said this about the Syracuse game, Houston was not a phenomenal team that just overpowered Syracuse. Syracuse did so many things fundamentally wrong that are all correctable in coaching, and Houston took advantage of it. And going into the game, I said, these are the things that Syracuse has to do. They did none of them, they lost. So it's to me, it's not rocket science to go back and see, how did Houston win? Well, they boxed out. They tipped the ball. They had good positioning. They were more tenacious. They had more energy. They didn't rely on their outside shot. They collapsed. They went after the ball. All Houston does is make sure that on offense and defense, they're surrounding the rim and giving themselves the best opportunity. They don't think they're going to make the first shot. They don't expect to make the first shot. Houston will wear you down because they just never give up. It's like a bee that will not leave your head alone while you're trying to get a suntan. It's who they are. And I think the great thing about Houston, and the testament to why I had them in the Final Four, is that they know how to play really good. I think about maybe the Houston Rockets of the past, or the Spurs, when people would say the Spurs were so boring, but they were going to the championship every year. And it's like, well, if that's boring basketball, I'll be boring every day.
Exactly right. Final question.
Yes, sir.
Besides me, favorite referee?
So easy, because you and him are in a world of your own to me. And so, it's got to be my guy who was on the show at the beginning of the week, Mr. Mike Kitts. So, I got it.
Very good.
I got to give it up to Kitsy. And Kitsy scared. Thank you. He scared the heck out of me, because at the beginning of Corona, he was one of the first people that had it.
Yeah. He was.
So, he terrified me. I told him he's not allowed to do it anymore. Neither are you, Brian. So,
that's right.
but, and neither is Bert. But,
that's right.
The reality of it all is, you and Kits, I honestly would love to be sitting somewhere in a bunch of comfy chairs, having some food, relaxing, having a drink, and just hearing stories from you and Mike. And I'm totally fine as a broadcaster saying nothing for hours and just listening to you guys.
Yeah, that's a very good job. I worked a lot of games with Kitsy, and he's a lot of fun.
And I told
his son's going to be very good too.
Well, it's funny because I told him, and a shout out to Mike Kitts Jr. I said to him, I go, Kitsy, what about this picture? And it's a picture of John Calipari standing next to him, and he's got his hand over his head. And he remembered exactly. He goes, he was probably saying something stupid to me.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Exactly.
But
okay, well, good choice.
Oh, Brian, as always, I appreciate you. Thank you for spending a well amount of time with me here,
Absolutely.
And I respect the heck out of you. And
again, sitting side by side.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to sit and relax in the same room very soon, and I'll look forward to that.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, take care. Give my best to Bert as well, okay?
I sure will. Thank you.
Thank you. That coming from Bryan Kersey here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out with us this morning, where sports meets that thing called life. So, very much appreciate having him on the show today, and just awesome stuff. So, Bryan Kersey just being the incredible human being that he is, and I'm so excited about the fact that we will be in the same room together very soon. And I know, when I look up, that's always me looking at God, just so you know. It's not like, what? It's not like, what? There's a spider. Hopefully not. Big fan of Spider-Man, not a big fan of spiders over my head, especially during the game. And now God will do that. He'll be like, all right, tomorrow there'll be one in the studio. Yeah, please, God, no. But yeah, thank you to Bryan Kersey, and we will be together soon by the grace of God. I know that. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, my guy will be here with me, Mr. Mike Sofka, in hour number 2.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We're going to end this video on Facebook and YouTube and start a new one. As you know, every Wednesday, the Fantasy Football Power Hour gets its own video because we have an archive dedicated to our plethora of fantasy football information throughout the year, and we want to make it easy for you to get to. As we know, fantasy football is a massive part of what I've done with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora over the last decade plus. So inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, for those of you on Facebook and YouTube, we're going to end this video, but don't go anywhere because a new one's going to start in just a second. And those of you on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt as well as on wakeupcalldt.com, you don't have to do anything as the audio will continue.